There we go. There we go. You got to give me a second so we can get the window capture going. I thought I had it, and it turns out I did not. And we can't be reading a book together without the book, can we? So give me a second on that, and I'll get it going. Let me see. You might be seeing a Mr. Beast ad because I was trying to get my music going, and he just showed up. There we go. I don't have YouTube Premium anymore, so it's been ads all over the place. No thanks. I don't want to try YouTube Premium. And let me, just in case, okay, sweet. So our quality is low because I want to make sure that things work well. And we're not watching the video. We're just using it for music purposes. But now we're all good. Greg is asking what the next video to come out is going to be about. We've been trying to tease our upcoming videos on Twitter a little bit, and I was trying to pull that up, but that's going a little slow. I'm hoping. So last week, for those of you who weren't here but are normally here, I know Dani wasn't here last week. I don't know if there was anyone else. But last week things were starting to run a bit more smoothly because of troubleshooting that James and I did. I'm hoping that things run smoothly today as well, because if they do, we're talking about starting to bring in timelining streams. Where is the okay, so Twitter's starting to load in. Good. Here we go. This is the one. This is this Sunday's video that we're teasing. What do these three villains have in common besides being designed by Tim Levins? Don't worry, I'll tell you in December. And we've got there's Black Adam, there's the Reaper, and there's the Reverse Flash. So that's the tease. You got to figure out what the video is from there. And then after that, I've been working on this right here, this big boy, of the Batman Adventures Volume 2. What would have happened had it not been canceled? I was actually trying to work on finishing that up before going on to stream. And I had forgotten that stream was going to be today, not going to lie. So I went to start working on the finishing touches there, and then my alarm goes off telling me, hey, stream's coming up. So now we're here. And we've got a third one that I just put out a tease for today that's coming after that. Stay tuned for an upcoming Ted Kendrick video about Wonder Woman's animated history prior to her inclusion in Justice League. You'll see a lot more of these almost happened pieces. So we're gonna have a lot of fun stuff coming up. We got the secret thing that James hasn't said anything more about than those three villains. That's the first one. We've got the Batman Adventures Volume 2, What Could Have Been, is going to be the week after that. And then we have Ted's Wonder Woman is going to be the week after that to line up with Wonder Woman 84. And then hopefully the week following that will be our breakdown of the Batman Adventures Continues holiday special. I think we're going to be a little bit off with the digital release, but that's kind of where we were starting to go anyway in regards to those, just so James wasn't having a breakneck turnaround due to how the schedule kept changing. And we're going to be closer to the print release with that video. So lots of fun stuff coming. But today we're going to be reading chapters 15 and 16 of the Harley Quinn Mad Love. Real quick, let me get through the chat. Sissy was in here last week with us and was saying I need to pay more attention to the chat. So I'm hoping that we can figure out a balance of me reading and looking back over at the chat. I think what I'll do, because I have to switch windows between the PDF and the stream software. So what I'll do is I'll just have Twitch open on my phone, and when new chats come in, I'll see them out of the corner of my eye, and be like, "Hey, that's a new thing. Let me talk with the people." Let's see, real quick. Let me get through what you guys got. Let's see. Is Semkind? Oh, it keeps scrolling me. Let's see. Is Semkind a typo? Is it canon? James breaks it down next week. No. I already told you what's happening next week. I like riffing off each other. Riffing is fun. Timelines are a lie and canonicity is a liberal hoax. I'm truthfully, yes. I was muted. Hello. Everybody's saying hi. So kind of you all to say hello. What's better, Suicide Squad or Batman and Harley Quinn? Batman and Harley Quinn, 100%. If we're talking about the Suicide Squad, like, live-action movie. Wasn't a fan. We've recorded... My fiance and I have recorded some commentary tracks for the DCEU movies. We're hoping to make content out of those closer to the release of the Snyder Cut. It probably won't be the full track, so it'll probably just be James chopping it down to whatever's funniest and lining it up with the movie visuals or something. Let's see. Only on Facebook. That's fair enough. That's why I brought up the Twitter to show you, because you wouldn't have known otherwise. I would love to talk timelines with you. Well, if this keeps running smoothly, then hopefully that'll be the case. Still need to go back and watch last week's stream video on demand. I've been distracted a lot in the past week. Hey, it happens. I've had things that I've been distracted with as well. It's been weird times. Do I watch any DC movies like Watchmen and V for Vendetta? It's been years since I've watched V for Vendetta. I do enjoy the Watchmen film, but I do understand the problems with it. Video is pretty much about how they would fit the DCAU because they haven't had any actual appearances. Kind of. You're getting close, Greg. It's like you guys are busy doing stuff. Yes. Using voice type. Ted spoiled the subject of the video on the Tuesday stream. Oh, well, then, there it goes. I'll spoil it again. It's all villains that exist in the DCAU in some way as on-screen canon that, like, you wouldn't have known had you not been paying a close eye. Not necessarily on-screen canon, but James will go more into it, probably like 20-30 minutes into it. Thoughts on Harley Quinn TV series? James said you are caught up. Yeah, I've been loving it. I started working on a timeline for it, and I need to finish that off. We were going to release a timeline video like coinciding with the season 3 announcement. Didn't end up happening. So that's a bummer, because I just wasn't done and ready by the time they announced. I was expecting it to be a little bit further down the road. So now we want to time it up with the season 3 release. So I'm going to keep an eye open for a release date. That way I know what to do. Pay more attention to me while reading. I'm going to try. Batman and Harley Quinn was so bad. I didn't say it wasn't, but Suicide Squad was worse. I understand I understand where y'all are coming from with the Nightwing situation. I don't read it the same way, but I get where you're coming from. I've been I won't I don't know how much I want to say about my own personal sexual exploits, because they're not it's a group activity, you know, and while someone may consent to the sex, they might not consent to the talking about it. But let's just say I've been in situations where, you know, I've been coaxed into a thing, and I personally don't read it as me having been assaulted, you know, but I understand that, like, there are people who you know, get negged and worn down, and you know, it's not a good situation. So I 100% get where you're coming from. It's just not my read on the scene. How far are you in DC Multiverse? I've seen Assault on Arkham. I don't know what you mean by DC Multiverse. Like I said, I understand your read on the scene. It's not my personal read, but I get where you're coming from. Anyway, we're now caught up with the chat. So we're gonna start hopping into the book. We've got chapters 15 and 16. We're still in Harley's time in Arkham. I'm gonna try to be more active with you all as I read. But just so you know, I do have a hard out around like 1:05 kind of, because I've got to medicate my cat because we're taking him into a vet today. But yeah, so let me go ahead, hop into chapter 15. Well, of course she would come back. He'd never doubted it. The Joker thought when Angus told him the lovely Dr. Quinzel was on her way. First thing that morning, he'd asked the orderlies, politely even, to tell him if or when the good doctor was headed in his direction. Now he was sorry he'd said if. It made him sound like he wasn't sure of himself. Fortunately, Angus was a moron who lived in a nuance-free world. Anything subtler than a pie in the face was wasted on him. But never mind, Harleen Quinzel was coming back, because she was well and truly hooked. She was treating him now, and what a treat she would be. Such a relief not to have to tolerate those other sorry schlubs that passed for psychiatrists at Arkham. Dr. Leland excluded. She most definitely wasn't a schlub. He had to watch his step around Joni Lala Leland. In fact, he'd probably see her a little more often now. She'd been checking up on Dr. Quinzel, monitoring her work, making sure this wasn't a mistake like the Looney Ladies Club. He'd have to be careful. Did she know how gorgeous she was? Or was she one of those women who couldn't see her real reflection in the mirror? So many beautiful women couldn't. According to the information he'd wheedled from the orderlies, Dr. Quinzel had been a gymnast. Gymnastics was full of knockouts with body issues, reinforced by the very nature of the sport. Why had Dr. Quinzel never competed in the Olympics, he wondered. Had she tried out and not been good enough? Did the failure eat at her? Or had she never had the chance because mommy and daddy couldn't afford the right coaches? Maybe her parents hadn't even cared. How classic. Heartless mothers, absent fathers, abusive brothers, twisted sisters, thanks to screwed up families. There would always be an endless supply of potential henchwenches to choose from. Since the DC animated universe didn't fare too well against their Darkseid, how do you think Earth 16 Justice League will fare against their Darkseid? Are you talking about Young Justice? Was that Earth 16? Honestly, I'm not as keyed into Young Justice as I am the DCAU, so I can't give a definitive answer on that. Poor cat. Yeah, he's going in for a checkup. He's had urinary problems over the past year or so, and we've been having to put him on fluids every other night, but he's going in for a checkup today to just, make sure he's doing well. He hasn't had many issues, but they just want him to come in and be seen just in case. At the same time, however, neurotic women were so much trouble. They always wanted to talk about their feelings, and your feelings, and their feelings about your feelings, and your feelings about their feelings about your feelings ad nauseum. It wasted time better spent devising and executing crimes outrageous enough to keep the 24-hour news cycle abuzz for weeks and have all the nobodies speaking your name in an odd whisper. But this was in the outside world, where he wasn't. He was buried alive in the loneliest cell on the lowest level of Arkham Asylum, courtesy of that caped buffoon Batman. Well, Batman didn't know it yet, but he was going to learn that even the sub basement of Arkham Asylum wasn't deep enough. Not when there was a neurotic beauty on the premises who wanted only to help him. And here she was now, with good old Angus, the orderly, bringing a chair in so the good doctor wouldn't have to sully her behind by sitting on the bed where every night he lay in his criminally insane repose and dreamed his criminally insane dreams. Angus offered to stay, but the very professional Dr. Quinzel shooed him out in the name of doctor-patient confidentiality. She sat down, crossed her long, graceful legs, and finally deigned to look directly at him. Are you up to a civilized exchange this evening, or are you still not using your indoor voice? The question almost brought tears of joyful laughter to his eyes. Bless her beautiful, professional, clueless little heart. Okay, so usually when we hit page breaks like that, is when I'll start trying to take notes, just so I don't, lose track of things between chapters. We haven't gotten much yet in the way of notes that we usually take. We take, notes on characters that have appeared, new locations, important objects, stuff that would make it non-canon, stuff that refers to in-show events, stuff that, would help with timeline clues, concrete stuff, like stuff that has an actual tangible origin in the DCAU. Stuff like that would be like the bat signal that was, first introduced in the Cape and Cowl conspiracy, or Clayface, who was first introduced in Feet of Clay. If we have a tangible origin for a character, for an object, then it places this thing after that origin, and that's why we take notes on that kind of stuff. Pop culture references, that's obvious what that is. Whether it says it's a hurricane season or it's snowing outside, indicating that it's winter, stuff like that could help us out. And other clues is just generally anything else that may be of interest. Right now, the only thing that's come up is this orderly named Angus. He hasn't been around yet, so marked him down. When I was younger, I seen a little bit of Young Justice, like 2 episodes when I was 5. I think I honestly don't remember. I just have memories watching Young Justice. I don't remember the age. Yeah, Young Justice it's really good. It's been so long since I watched the pre-cancellation stuff. So when I got to the new stuff, I kind of wasn't linked up with it. I forgot everything really that went on. I need to binge it again from the start before season 4 comes out. That way I can be a little bit refreshed. Honestly, I think that they'll do fine against them. They have most of the real DCU heavy hitters. Yeah. Do you think that Shazam can have his own spin-off comic in the DCAU? I doubt that'll ever happen. There was talks of like a Shazam TV show at one point with Alex Ross and Paul Dini working on it. There's a little bit of concept art. They kind of wanted to go like a Butch Hartman, not Butch Hartman. Who am I thinking? Like a Gendy Tartakovsky, Craig McCracken, like more like Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab kind of feel to it. There's like 2 or 3 concept art images that have leaked out, and it looks like it would have been fun, but since that didn't happen, like I don't think he's ever going to get a comic spin-off at all, since basically he had one appearance in the DCAU. It wouldn't make sense from a marketing standpoint, as cool as it would be. Where was I? Oh yeah, after the page break. Are you up to a civilized exchange this evening, or are you still not using your indoor voice? The Joker didn't answer right away. Harleen blinked. Were those tears in his eyes, or was that just a trick of the light? I was really afraid you might not come back after I treated you so shamefully, he said after a few seconds. As much as I hoped you'd let me apologize, I wouldn't have blamed you for wanting nothing more to do with me. When you didn't come back last night, I tried to tell myself it was simply that you'd already gone home. I didn't sleep very well. It must have been a trick of the light, Harleen thought. The Joker's voice was serious but steady, no cracking or breaking. Not that he'd have fooled her with crocodile tears. His face was so utterly forlorn, though. She found it hard to look at him. She glazed down at her tablet instead and pretended to take notes. The man had so much presence and vitality. The humiliation must have been unbearable, as bad as physical pain. Let me scroll for you guys. Harleen cleared her throat. How well do you sleep normally? Oh, I don't know what that means, the Joker said in the same low, serious voice. He sat up on the edge of the bed and rested his elbow on his knees. Normally? That is, I don't think I've ever done anything normally. I meant what's normal for you, Harleen said, suppressing a smile. Contrite, humble, but still trying to take control of the conversation. It was probably a habit. Getting the upper hand was how prisoners survived, and crucial to her understanding of him was knowing he saw Arkham as a prison and hospital scrubs. That was good, she thought, writing it down. She had to use it in the book. Do you usually sleep well? The Joker tilted his head, gazing at her in a speculative way, trying to gauge something about her. The word that appeared most often in his files was manipulative. What might he be trying to discern? That's a good question, he said after a few seconds. Do I wake up refreshed, singing with the birds every morning? Hardly. I doubt anyone's life is that good. But here in Arkham, I don't have very much to occupy my mind, so I'm prone to things weighing on me. What kind of things? Harleen asked, using the stylus on her tablet screen. The usual suspects, said the Joker. Things I've done, or not done. Things done to me, or not. Oh dear, what just happened? The scroll just went wild. Where's the part that we were at? Why did it just go wild like that? Give me a sec, guys. I gotta figure out where we were. You know, maybe I can just Control F it. The usual suspects. No, I can't Control F it. Okay, well then. Or there. No, that's not it. Oh no, that moved us towards the very end of the book. Oh no. Tell you what, I'm going to go back up to the table of contents. Oh, hold on. Now it's saying that there's two usual suspects. There we go. Boom. Found it. I watched more Teen Titans when I was younger than Young Justice. Same. But Young Justice, I don't think came out till I was like out of high school. So personally, I don't feel, I mean, it's younger then than I am now, but, you know, not a child. Did he think she was an amateur? Harleen wondered. She frowned down at her tablet. Someday, someone would make a stylus that didn't make her handwriting look as if she were recovering from a stroke. Until then, she'd stick with low tech. She swapped the tablet for a binder. Go on, she said, pencil poised over a blank page. Do any particular things weigh on your mind more than others? Other than the fact that my misdeeds are without number? The Joker said brightly. Nah, not really. Now let's scroll calmly this time. That way we're not goofing. Did you watch any new DC TV shows like Titans and Pennyworth? I've watched the first 2 seasons of Titans. I enjoyed the second season a lot more than the first. And I've been watching. I watched Swamp Thing. Really enjoyed that one. I've been watching Doom Patrol, which is my favorite of them all so far. And Stargirl was pretty fun. Watchmen was really good as well. I haven't really been watching the Arrowverse stuff. I saw, the first 2 seasons of Black Lightning. And I wanted to start watching the 3rd season, but like now that it's tied into the Arrowverse, like it just feels more of a chore where I'm gonna have to watch all of these things and see how they cross over and yada 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 yada. So I've kind of dropped it till I tackle the Arrowverse in its entirety, which might be a while. What about things that have happened to you? Harleen asked. Any of those repeating on your head, on you like bad chili? The Joker looked at her disapprovingly. Isn't that a bit racist? Harleen smiled with half her mouth. Some patients would pounce on the most ridiculous things in an effort to throw their doctor off balance. Any cuisine can suffer from failure of execution. Bad curry, bad pizza, bad apple pie. The Joker put his head in his hands and stayed that way for so long. Harleen worried she had somehow hit a nerve. She was about to ask him what was wrong when he suddenly sat up straight and said, Damn, I miss that so much! Harleen blinked at him. Bad apple pie? Intelligent conversation! Banter! He moved to lean back against the wall. I swear, sometimes I feel my own brain atrophying. My mind's shrinking. It takes a lot more than crossword puzzles and killer Sudoku to keep an intellect alive and kicking. My other doctors hardly ever said anything to me about, well, anything. We never talked, never conversed. They'd just look at me, check the box next to still crazy, and they were done for the day. And before they... Oh, that's still Joker. And before they put me down here in isolation, he went on before Harleen could respond, it wasn't much better. I mean, who among the other nut jobs in this joint could I have even a halfway intelligent conversation with? A serial killer? An arsonist? Half the loonies in Arkham hear voices, so it's impossible to get a word in edgeways, and it probably wouldn't be worth the effort anyway. Harleen opened her mouth to say something, but he was too fast for her again. And don't get me started about the so-called fairer sex, he went on. The choice of female companionship is strictly limited in here. Now, I'm not one of those men who has problems with women being who they are or asserting themselves, but I'd rather talk to a woman who has more to say than, I didn't mean to, or shiny, and a woman who calls herself Poison Ivy and grows plants in her freaking hair probably hasn't read any good books lately. Harleen tried pressing her lips tightly together, but it didn't work. She burst out laughing. The Joker laughed a little himself as he watched her. She could practically feel his gaze as a physical pressure. Well, thank God, the Joker said as she wound down. I was afraid you had no sense of humor. I watched Supergirl for a little bit, like 2 minutes, and it couldn't hold my attention, so that's the only Arrowverse thing I've seen. I saw like the first couple seasons of Arrow as well, but that was as it was airing. It was like right up till right before the Flash TV show came out. I think, like, last thing I remember is the two of them teaming up and the Flash getting the origin on Arrow. I get the unfortunate impression that this version of the Joker would get along with the intellectual Dark Web. Oh no! Oh no! Hello, Reese Stars. Do you think do you think this Joker's a Jordan B. Peterson fan? I could see it. Wonder if he's cleaned up his room lately. Now, where was I? Oh yeah. Now, oh that's Harley. I'm doing my really bad Joker voice for Harley. Now, what would make you think a thing like that? Harleen asked, still a little breathless. I don't know, he said, shrugging. Maybe because you hardly ever smile, or because the only way you ever react to what I tell you is to make notes. He smiled in a way that was actually gentle, not much like his standard Joker grin. Harleen's heart went thump. It's nice to know I can make you laugh. I'm not here so you can make me laugh, she said, sobering quickly. I meant, as opposed to driving you away to avoid therapy. The Joker leaned forward as he looked into her face with an unguarded earnestness that made her heart go thump again. To be brutally honest, I'd still rather avoid therapy, but seeing you react to me so positively, I can't remember the last time that happened. It makes me want to believe that maybe what I've needed all along is the right person to help me look myself in the eye and see what's really there. I don't need a lot of yak about pathologies and disorders. I need the right person to connect with, who gets me so well that I can make her laugh, not run away. Abruptly, there was a knock on the door, and Angus poked his head in. Everything okay, Dr. Quinzel? I thought I heard something. It was all Harleen could do not to scream at him and whack him in the face with the binder. You heard no good reason to interrupt a scheduled session of therapy, she told him, her voice tight with indignation. Unless you hear me explicitly call for help, don't barge in here again. Got that? Angus nodded solemnly and withdrew. Oh my, the Joker said wide-eyed. I think you scared him. He's lucky that's all I did, Harleen said darkly. I've never seen Angus scared of anyone. The Joker paused. Well, except Mary Louise Dahl, but she creeps everyone out. Very funny, Harleen said. We've already established that you can make me laugh, so it isn't necessary to keep doing it. If you can connect with me, then connect with me instead of deflecting with humor. You get me, Mr. J? The Joker burst out laughing. Oh God, why did I do that? Harleen thought, appalled at herself. What had possessed her to do exactly what Dr. Leland had told her not to? She hadn't intended. I didn't mean to. If she'd caught Mary Louise Dahl's crazy, Harleen thought, she would kill herself. Dr. Quinzel, you are full of surprises, the Joker said, wiping his eyes. Where did that come from? Brooklyn. Harleen cleared her throat again and spoke in her normal voice. Now, where were we? I don't think there's really much to note since we got that Angus is amongst our notes. I guess technically, this is the day. This is the story of the day after chapter 14. We got that because he's talking about how she never came down to hear his apology and everything. So that's one note. That's one thing. As something that those of you who have been around for these book readings have probably already picked up. The longer we get into these books, the less notes really there are to take, because books tend to set up their whole cast and everything in the first couple of chapters. This one we've been jumping around time periods So there's been different character setups from section to section, but generally speaking, like we're staying in Arkham, so we don't have any new locations to deal with. We're staying around the Arkham doctors, so we don't really have a lot of new characters to deal with. So it makes it easier for me to hop back over here and see what you guys are saying. Probably moderates his subreddit too. Oh God, I would. I'm now envisioning the Joker just modding a subreddit, and I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there with a Joker-like personality who's moderating a subreddit, but I can't imagine it's a very friendly place. It's not it's Rye. Am I saying it? Rye? Okay, got it. So, Maddie, in your opinion, how convoluted was Watchmen HBO? I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. I mean, it was also I was watching it during a time where I was just like, get all of the content into me. So I don't really have much of. Like I don't feel I remember too much of what was going on. I other than the Dr. Manhattan is the guy, and you know that, but like I enjoyed the story they were trying to tell. I do think that there's some things that they could have done better, but for what it is, it's a pretty good show. It's pretty fun. Let's see. I know someone who worked on, like, I think the first half of the episodes as a production assistant. So maybe I'm a little bit biased in that I like to see the people in my life succeed and like to think that the things they're doing is good. But also, I'm more than willing to call out when something that the people in my life do is trash. Like I just had to give a friend like multiple pages worth of notes on like how to make his YouTube sketch comedy more appealing. So you know, I'd like to think a bias isn't part of why I enjoyed it. So happy for the Game Awards. You know, I haven't really been following all the news on that. I heard that a new Smash Bros. Character is going to be announced, and I heard Brie Larson is presenting. But other than that, I don't know much about the Game Awards. My backlog on games is kind of ridiculous to the point where like I haven't really played a lot of new games. I think the newest game that I have played is Kingdom Hearts 3. No, you know what? I take that back. I played Resident Evil 3 earlier this year. I didn't realize that the remake was so brand new that like I got it very shortly after it released. I just thought it was something that had been out for a while and was on sale, so I picked it up, had a lot of fun with that. But like my fiance and I have been trying to take our physical like game library and just our physical media library and digitize it just to like clear up space in the apartment because there's just too much stuff here. And so I've been you know taking all of my old games and that most of it's a backlog of stuff that I got secondhand at like you know thrift shops and stuff, and we've been waiting for when that stuff goes on sale on PSN and repurchasing the digital versions and selling the physical versions, and as we're doing that, we're you know trying to kind of complete the games, trying to get our money's worth out of the experience. So we've been playing the Borderlands Handsome Collection, and we just finished Borderlands 2. There's still a bunch of raid bosses left to go back through and everything, but it's at the point where it's hard to grind until we decide to do the Vault Hunters mode, which is like New Game Plus, where we get to keep all our levels and everything, and it's harder. So we ended up just calling it quits right there because it's it's just a bit repetitive right now, and now we've moved on to the pre-sequel. But other than that, like I'm not really up to date on current games. You haven't played Assassin's Creed Valhalla? I haven't played any Assassin's Creed. None of them. Where was I? The book. And despite her misstep with the tough Brooklyn cookie voice, the session was brilliantly fruitful. So much so that Harleen let it run 30 minutes longer than she had originally planned, and then discovered that she had actually let it go on an hour longer. That was Angus's fault, Harleen decided. His interruption had thrown her timing off. I've enjoyed this more than I thought I would, the Joker said as she got to her feet and gathered her things together. I'm glad you feel that way, Harleen told him. We'll be doing it again tomorrow. I suppose I'll have to wait all day for you, he said a bit sadly. That's the arrangement, Harleen said. If you show improvement, however, the schedule might also change for the better. You never know. I'll do my best, Dr. Quinzel, said the Joker. Don't. Harleen put up a hand. Don't promise anything. It's too early for promises. Change takes time, even when you're ready and willing. I look forward to our next meeting, the Joker said, no matter how hard it is to wait. Harleen headed for the door, then stopped and turned back to him. By the way, what you said when you made me laugh? My rant du jour? He smiled, obviously pleased with himself. I think if we recorded that and played it for juvenile first offenders, it might be more effective at scaring them straight than any other program the social workers have tried. Well, the Joker folded his arms, pretending to be deeply offended. I'll thank you not to repeat that slander where anyone can hear it. You'll ruin my reputation as a bad influence. Good night, Mr. J, she said, resisting the urge to use her tough Brooklyn cookie voice. Until tomorrow, my dear Dr. Quinzel, said the Joker. My dear Dr. Quinzel crept all the way up to the edge of her rule as to what he could call her. But, Harleen decided, it stopped short of going over. She'd allow it. She also liked the way it sounded. And that's the end of chapter 15. I believe the rest of this page is then empty. Yes. So chapter 16 starts here. Can we make it through this chapter quickly? 7 pages. Do I consider BTAC canon? I don't know. I feel like there's like, I feel like a lot of the issues with it are like super nitpick issues. So I don't know that I would say it's enough to knock it out of canon. But it's not over yet. We still have the holiday special coming, and there's no word one way or another. But we're under the impression that the holiday special is not going to be the end of it. What's your favorite character in Watchmen? Oh man, I liked Rorschach when I was younger, but I've come to the conclusion that like the whole point of the story is that they're all kind of shitty people. If we're talking the new characters, I really liked what the fuck was his name? Looking Glass, I think it was. Just because I really enjoyed the actor. I don't know why that word was escaping me. God, what is his name? The one that was in like Oh Brother Where Art Thou and was like the leader in Edward Norton's Hulk movie. That guy. I've always enjoyed him. So I was glad to see him come around. Even as a kid, I hated it when books did that. It's such an unnecessary waste of a page. It really is. Tim Blake Nelson. That's the one. All right. I might be a little less involved with the chat so that we can get through this chapter. But I will try to chat with y'all while we're doing this. I just might not be as involved as I have been so far. But we've got 14 minutes to knock out 7 pages. Might go a little bit over that, but basically, I think we said 110 is my hard cutoff. The Joker collapsed on the bed, wrung out but satisfied. This was going to be beyond good. It would be a major event, a genuine extravaganza. "Excuse me, Joker, I'm coming in to get a chair," Angus said. "Since she's gone, I'm not interrupting." "Make it quick! You're interrupting my therapeutic train of thought!" the Joker informed him loftily. "You missed your calling," Angus said. "That performance deserves an Oscar." "As if I care what you think," the Joker said, waving one hand dismissively. "How long can you keep it up?" Angus asked. "A week? 3 weeks? A month?" Pause. "You'll break that poor girl's heart." The Joker made a disdainful noise. "Everyone's a critic." Joan Leland wanted to be reassured by Harley Quinzel's daily reports. From the beginning, they were enthusiastic accounts, rich with detail about the banter she and the Joker engaged in. All their conversations heavily annotated. She could imagine Harleen at home, with her laptop, typing up her notes, adding insights as they occurred to her. There seemed to be a lot of those. The reports arrived promptly. Every morning, when she got to work, one was waiting in her inbox. The length of some reports made Dr. Leland wonder if Harleen was getting enough sleep, but she didn't look sleep-deprived. She showed up every day looking fresh and energetic, as if she were sure that something good was going to happen before the day was out. Seeing her like that was worrisome. Dr. Leland talked with the nurses as well as the orderlies, who were on duty during Dr. Quinzel's sessions. The orderlies were all certain the Joker was having a ball playing Dr. Quinzel, because that was what he did. He had nothing else to do and nothing to lose. Maybe she shouldn't let it continue, Dr. Leland thought. Dr. Quinzel didn't deserve to be toyed with by a psychopath. No one did. Except, according to the nurses, the Joker actually showed improvement. Not all the nurses, of course. Some of the long-timers had seen too much, but none of them were especially credulous. The nurse who took his vitals every day reported he was polite. When he came down with a bacterial infection that put him in isolation in the medical ward for a few days, there had been no practical jokes, no booby traps, no physical assaults, and no verbal abuse. Just please, thank you, and even excuse me. Dr. Leland wanted to be skeptical to agree with Angus that the Joker was Arkham's own Meryl Streep. Sociopaths could be skilled actors, good at stimulating someone with a conscience and a working moral compass. They also had an extremely low boredom threshold. However, so they had trouble maintaining the act. Unless there was a quick payoff, they'd drop it and look for a new thrill. Arkham was pretty short on thrills these days. Dr. Quinzel's arrival was the most thrilling thing to happen to Arkham since Hugo Strange's downfall. Interesting. I want to know what they're referring to. I want to know what they're referring to with that. If the Joker had been anyone else, Dr. Leland would have had no doubt his interest in Dr. Quinzel was prurient. But the Joker was about as sexual as a Bugs Bunny cartoon. His interest in Harley Quinzel was something else entirely. It may have been merely that she hadn't already heard all his jokes, or she may have been the star of a paranoid fantasy he was making up as he went along. The Joker had been in a number of institutions, prisons, hospitals, facilities that didn't even have names, and had never been discharged from any of them. He got out only by escaping. He had even managed to escape from Arkham more than once, but his ridiculously over-the-top criminal activities inevitably resulted in his recapture. A normal person, a normal criminal, might have left town to do something less destructive, like go straight. But not the Joker. He did what he did simply because it was what he did. And then Dr. Harley Quinzel had come along with all her new ideas about treatment and rehabilitating people, even if they were never going to rejoin the outside world. She worked hard, believed in everything she was doing, even coming in on her days off for sessions with the Joker. And somehow, her desire to make a difference actually seemed to be doing just that, making a difference. Joan Leland wanted more than anything for that to be true. She was well aware that hope could make even the most dispassionate professionals lie to themselves. But as time went on, she couldn't deny something good was happening. Not fast or ostentatiously, which was all the more reason to believe it was true. The Joker was changing from a caricature of a human being into a person. Not that anything was resolved. It would be some time before the Joker was fit for polite company, and there was still the possibility that it was some kind of trick. Although the possibilities seemed to be getting progressively smaller. Time would tell. So we've got a couple things there. Meryl Streep was mentioned as a person who exists, so I'm going to put her in characters rather than in pop culture. Hugo Strange was mentioned. And then, of course, we had that Bugs Bunny reference. So that's going to go under the pop culture stuff. Other clues, I'm going to just put in, said Arkham hadn't been what? Since what was the specific quote? Dr. Quinzel's arrival was the most thrilling thing to happen to Arkham since Hugo Strange's downfall. Because I don't know what this could be referring to. It's probably in regards to something that happened in the comics rather than in the DCAU itself. Because as far as I recall, Hugo Strange never had any Arkham appearances in the comic. Did you just like the character, or were you in the Rorschach is right crowd? You know, I'm so far removed from what I used to believe then that I'm not specifically sure. Right? Like, I feel like I could have very much been in the Rorschach is right crowd, but also at that time, my involvement with Watchmen was based solely off of the movie. Rather than the comic itself. And I know that the movie wants to do a 1-to-1 adaptation, but in despite them doing that, it doesn't really capture the message of the comic. They kind of framed it as Rorschach being the hero of the story. And so I want to say that my attachment to Rorschach kind of came from his portrayal in the film, where he's given a bit more leeway than he is in the comic. Is Tio Maro in the DCAU? He's the creator of Red Tornado, right? So Red Tornado is in the DCAU. So I would assume that whether he actually shows up or not, he probably exists in some capacity. Imagine if they involved the prequels from 2012, the Before Watchmen comics, and adapted it into a movie. I've only read a couple of those, and they were so unextraordinary that I have all but forgotten the story. Harleen was worried, not biting her nails, thin edge of hysteria worried, but a constant hum of anxiety at the back of her mind, like an almost headache, and not because everything wasn't going well, but because it was. After a month and a half, the Joker had gone from the mad clown prince of crime with a death wish for Batman to a man tentatively finding his way out of a psychotic fog. Dr. Leland was so impressed with what Harleen had accomplished just with talking therapy that she had done what she said she wasn't going to do. She had transferred all Harleen's other patients to other staff members, bringing in part-time help as needed. There was enough room in the budget for anyone who didn't require vacation time, sick time, health insurance, or any of the other benefits of full-time employment. But Dr. Leland also made Harleen promise to speak up if the Joker's therapy became overwhelming. While I can't deny you're accomplishing something that no one else has, Dr. Leland said at a lunchtime meeting in her office, I still have some reservations, just because the Joker is benefiting from this concentrated therapy of yours. Scroll it down. Concentrated full immersion therapy. Harleen corrected her between bites of the corned beef pastrami and Capicola Hero sandwich she'd brought from home. The cafeteria food was, like all cafeteria food, uninspiring except for the pudding cups, which she'd heard were a form of currency among the inmates. Dr. Leland nodded. Just because the Joker benefits from your concentrated full immersion therapy doesn't mean it's doing you any good. I don't think you've considered how this is affecting you. I'm fine, Harleen assured her. Better than fine. I'm super. Knowing a therapy program I developed is having a real effect on a hardcore criminal everyone else believed was hopeless? Dr. Leland, if there's a better feeling than knowing you're helping someone by doing the very thing you love to do, I don't know what it is. You know what they say. If you can find what you're most passionate about, you'll never work a day in your life. Dr. Leland gave a short laugh. They say a lot of things, don't they? Sometimes they're even right, but sometimes they oversimplify things just to be pithy. Loving your work doesn't mean it isn't work. You loved gymnastics, didn't you? I still do, Harleen said. I get to the gym whenever I can, at least 3 times a week, which wasn't actually true. The Joker's therapy had cut into her workout time, but her boss didn't need to know that. Well, good for you, Dr. Leland was saying, but it's still a physical effort, isn't it? And if you overdid it, you'd hurt yourself. You can even hurt yourself when you don't overdo it. And certainly, you must get bored with it sometimes. You're not always in the mood for tumbling or cartwheels. Harleen's nod was reluctant. The Joker's treatment doesn't require the kind of physical effort from either of us, and I have yet to pull a muscle just from sitting and listening to my patient. Dr. Leland laughed again. Wait till you get a bit older. You can pull a muscle just crossing your legs. But never mind. This isn't a debate. Having an answer for everything doesn't mean you win. Heat rushed into Harleen's face. She was doing good work, better than anyone else had done at Arkham for a very long time, and Dr. Leland had just rapped her on the knuckles for it. Cheaper than a pay raise, Harleen supposed. If she ever made a real breakthrough, Dr. Leland would probably line up the entire board of directors to punch her in the face, because Dr. Leland was the boss. The boss seemed to catch something of what she was thinking. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like I'm reprimanding you, she told Harleen, but I have to look out for the well-being of everyone here. Everyone, being the staff as well as the patients I'm responsible for. I'm responsible for what happens to everyone at Arkham, which means I have to make certain that in your eagerness to help a patient, you don't hurt yourself. Harleen still felt as if she was being disciplined, but she made herself smile and nod. There's also the matter of feasibility, Dr. Leland went on. The effectiveness of this treatment plan comes at a cost to other patients. I've transferred yours to your colleagues just to be sure they get the proper amount of attention. But you made that decision, Harleen said, not caring if she sounded defensive. I didn't ask you to, and you'd said you weren't going to. But then you did it anyway, even though I kept my promise not to neglect any of them. Dr. Leland didn't answer for a few seconds. Harleen could practically see her mind working as she chose her words. That's true, but I felt I had to lighten your load before problems developed because you were neglecting yourself. And to be honest, some of the reports on your other patients seemed a bit... She hesitated. Perfunctory. I'm pretty sure I know which ones you're referring to, Harleen said, forcing herself to sound pleasantly professional rather than argumentative. I'll admit that a couple of my patients seem to be stuck in a rut. The problem is they like the rut. They know they're never getting out. Arkham Asylum has become their comfort zone. They wouldn't leave now if they found all the doors wide open and unguarded. You'd have to call Batman to drag them out. Dr. Leland smiled fleetingly, which brings us to the question of why you feel like the Joker is worth so much effort when we all know he'll never be discharged. She looked at Harleen expectantly. I think that's a fair question. The Joker's not complacent, Harleen said. He's not in his comfort zone. He's not resigned to being an inmate for the rest of his life. He wants more for himself. He's not going to get more, Dr. Leland said with an edge of warning in her voice. Oh no, did I... Here we go. How far are you in DC Dark Multiverse? So I read the Tales of the Dark Multiverse that came out, back in like early this year, January, February, March, whenever that was. But I've I've had to stop picking up comics as a result of the pandemic. When things first started, my comic shop closed down, and they weren't able to come back after that. Being closed for a couple months closes off your revenue stream, but you also have bills to pay. You've got your rent to pay and everything like that. So the comic shop that I frequented, that's been in Seattle for years and years, ended up having to close down. I got in touch with the owner and they suggested a new comic shop to me, but I haven't made a point to go out of my way for it, because money is very tight. I used to, before the pandemic, I was working on a food truck as my main job and doing Watchtower Database essentially just as a monetized hobby. And without the food truck, because they closed down back in March and have shuttered indefinitely, without the food truck, my income was then left up to basically collecting unemployment benefits, and those ran out recently. So money's getting tighter and tighter, but I have been, I've been saving, so we're decent. We're decent for the next couple while, but I can't go out of my way to do comics really as much lately, and unless they're specifically for Watchtower Database videos in which I get to write them off in taxes and all that kind of stuff, but otherwise I haven't been keeping up, and I know that there's ways to read them for free, but I like to support the art that I'm consuming, so I'm trying not to do that. But that being said, if you want to support the content that you're consuming, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower. There's tons of stuff over there. Maybe I should plug that more during these streams, but it is what it is. We are almost done with this chapter, and we're at 105. So let's finish this chapter off. Let's get these notes, and let's get on out of here. That's not entirely true, Harleen said. No, he'll never be set free, but if we can heal his mind even a little, he could learn to redirect his energy into more constructive things, reading or appreciating art and music, maybe even educating himself. He'd get a lot more out of life in here, maybe even a college degree. Wouldn't it make all our lives better if he were studying instead of sitting down in the sub basement, thinking up new ways to torment everyone just for spite? You think you can get him to a point where he could reconcile himself to the fact that he's never getting out? Dr. Leland asked. Harleen hesitated. At least Dr. Leland had said reconcile rather than resign, although she was pretty sure the Joker wouldn't see the difference. That would be part of being rehabilitated, she said slowly as she tried to think of how to sound like she was answering the question while changing the subject. Look, he's got a big, bold personality. Gotham City's most flamboyant criminal. Rehabilitating him would show him that there's no point in using all his brilliant energy to be the biggest problem child in Arkham. And that trying to escape isn't worth the effort because he'll only end up back here again. Wouldn't it be great if he weren't the most troublesome inmate we have? Dr. Leland sighed. You make some good points. I'd like to believe you're on to something. Then just believe it, Harleen said, her face growing warm again. Don't give in to the cynicism or so-called compassion fatigue, and don't blame me for decisions you've made, she added silently. I never asked you to lighten my caseload, and I refuse to feel guilty because I'm glad you did. All right, Dr. Leland said with another sigh, but with reservations. It's part of my job to have reservations. I'm the boss. I have to play devil's advocate. Not because I want to stomp all over good ideas, but because everything has to be questioned from as many different angles as possible. Point taken, Harleen said, meaning it, even though she had lost count of the number of times the other woman had reminded her she was the boss just in this one conversation. Was Dr. Leland feeling threatened? Did you have anything else you wanted to talk over? Dr. Leland asked. Well, while we're on the subject of good ideas, Harleen said cheerfully, has anyone ever talked about the possibility of putting in a swimming pool? And that's the end of that chapter there. We did get, as far as notes, we got mentioned that there's a month and a half time skip mid-chapter, but other than that, I think that basically covers it. So let me go ahead. Let me read your last couple chats, your last couple inputs, and then we're gonna wrap this whole thing up. I'm hoping. If you guys can tell me, did things seem to run smooth today? Especially if you're here like usually and you've been witnessing all of the lag issues that we've had. Were things running smoother today than normal? I'm getting that there were 2 notifications for frame drops on my end, which is a lot less than usual. I'm just trying to gauge the situation. That way, I can do more streams. I can do the timeline streams and stuff, right? Like I want to theoretically, what I'm thinking is like actually build a visual timeline and have like entries for every episode and like why they're placed where they are, every episode, every tie-in thing, like even stuff that we end up deeming non-canon. Essentially, I'd like to be like, okay, but if it were canon, like it would have to go here after this thing, and then it just wouldn't go forward to this thing down the road, kind of situation, if that makes sense. Let's see, what do we got? Do you like the Telltale Batman games? It's my second favorite Batman. I haven't played them yet. I've been eyeing them. Right, like I was saying, I'm really like I'm very far backlogged on video games. But I've been eyeing those a little bit. I think the first chapter is free, if I remember correctly. So I've been thinking about just picking that up just to give it a go. I remember when I first got my PS3, I was playing a couple Telltale games, and they're not really my cup of tea. It seems. I mean, they may have changed them in the years since, but what I was playing, it seemed to just be more or less having conversation and it being a choose your own adventure. And like I don't really play video games for that. Like I like to be a bit more involved with like fighting things and stuff. But I assume that there's got to be some kind of action element to them. It's been years since I even played whichever one it was I played. I think it was like the first chapter of The Walking Dead or something like that. So maybe I could even be remembering it completely wrong. Let's see. Yeah, it was completely smooth today. Today has been so much better. Huh. Okay, sweet. So I'm going to at some point today, tomorrow, I'm going to converse with James and Ted, see what we think about adding a timeline stream to the schedule starting next week, hopefully, and see where things go from there. But it is 1:11. I do have to get going. I've got to take care of my kitty cat, and I'm sure my fiance Sissy is already kind of miffed that it's 1:11 and not 1:10. So I'm gonna go ahead, get out of here. Thank you all for being around today. It was a lot more fun, I feel like, going back and forth with the chat. So I'm gonna try to start doing that a lot more often, like, instead of waiting and doing it in between page breaks and chapter breaks, stuff like that. As always, we've got our video coming up on Sunday. If you weren't here when I was talking about those earlier, this Sunday is going to be Hidden Villains of the DCAU. Next Sunday is going to be What Would Have Happened Had Batman Adventures Volume 2 continued. Sunday after that is going to be History of Wonder Woman in the DCAU pre her inclusion in the Justice League. And as always, we have Twitch streams Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe an extra day coming up soon. All that said, I gotta get out of here. I gotta do the cat thing. I love you all. I'll see you next time, hopefully very soon. Goodbye.